The following is an extract from an ecclesiastical history of the English people by the Venerable Bede. The book was completed in 731, and this first chapter describes the islands of Britain as they were known during the time of Bede. The work was originally written in Latin, the language of religion of the time. The text used here is a translation believed to have been written in the early 20th century. Book 1. Chapter 1. Of the situation of Britain and Ireland, and of their ancient inhabitants. Britain, an island in the ocean, formerly called Albion, is situated between the north and west, facing, though at a considerable distance, the coasts of Germany, France, and Spain, which form the greatest part of Europe. It extends 800 miles in length towards the north, and is 200 miles in breadth, except where several promontories extend further in breadth, by which its compass is made to be 3,675 miles. To the south, as you pass along the nearest shore of the Belgic Gaul, the first place in Britain which opens to the eye is the city of Rutubi Portus, by the English corrupted into Reptacester. The distance from hence across the sea to Jesoriacum, the nearest shore of the Morini, is 50 miles, or, as some writers say, 450 furlongs. On the back of the island, where it opens upon the boundless ocean, it has the islands called Orcades. Britain excels for grain and trees, and is well adapted for feeding cattle and beasts of burden. It also produces vines in some places, and has plenty of land and waterfowls of several sorts. It is remarkable also for rivers abounding in fish, and plentiful springs. It has the greatest plenty of salmon and eels. Seals are also frequently taken, and dolphins, as also whales. Besides many sorts of shellfish, such as mussels, in which are often found excellent pearls of all colours, red, purple, violet, and green, but mostly white. There is also a great abundance of cockles, of which the scarlet dye is made, a most beautiful colour, which never fades with the heat of the sun or the washing of the rain, but the older it is, the more beautiful it becomes. It has both salt and hot springs, and from them flow rivers which furnish hot baths, proper for all ages and sexes, and arranged according. For water, as Saint Basil says, receives the heating quality when it runs along certain metals, and becomes not only hot, but scalding. Britain also has many veins of metals, as copper, iron, lead, and silver. It has much and excellent jet, which is black and sparkling, glittering at the fire, and when heated drives away serpents. Being warmed with rubbing, it holds fast whatever is applied to it, like amber. The island was formerly embellished with 28 noble cities, besides innumerable castles, which were all strongly secured with walls, towers, gates, and locks. And, from its lying almost under the North Pole, the nights are light in summer, so that at midnight the beholders are often in doubt whether the evening twilight still continues, or that of the morning is coming on. For the sun in the night returns under the earth, through the northern regions, at no great distance from them. For this reason the days are of a great length in summer, as, on the contrary, the nights are in winter, for the sun then withdraws into the southern parts, so that the nights are 18 hours long. Thus the nights are extraordinarily short in summer, and the days in winter, that is, of only 6 equinoctial hours. Whereas in Armenia, Macedonia, Italy, and other countries of the same latitude, the longest day or night extends but to 15 hours, and the shortest to 9. This island at present, following the number of the books in which the divine law was written, contains 5 nations, the English, Britons, Scots, Picts, and Latins, each in its own peculiar dialect cultivating the sublime study of divine truth. The Latin tongue is, by the study of the Scriptures, become common to all the rest. At first this island had no other inhabitants but the Britons, from whom it derived its name, and who, coming over into Britain, as is reported, from Armorica, possessed themselves of the southern parts thereof. When they, beginning at the south, had made themselves master of the greatest part of the island, It happened that the nation of the Picts from Scythia, as is reported, putting to sea in a few long ships, were driven by the winds beyond the shores of Britain, and arrived on the northern coast of Ireland, where, finding the nation of the Scots, they begged to be allowed to settle among them, but could not succeed in obtaining their request. Ireland is the greatest island next to Britain, and lies to the west of it. But as it is shorter than Britain to the north, so on the other hand it runs out far beyond it to the south, opposite to the northern parts of Spain, though a spacious sea lies between them. The Picts, as has been said, arriving in this island by sea, desired to have a place granted them in which they might settle. The Scots answered that the island could not contain them both. But we can give you good advice, said they, what to do. We know there is another island, not far from us to the eastward, which we often see at a distance, when the days are clear. If you will go thither, you will obtain settlements, or, if they should oppose you, you shall have our assistance. The Picts, accordingly, sailing over into Britain, began to inhabit the northern parts thereof, for the Britons were possessed of the southern. Now the Picts had no wives, and asked them of the Scots, who would not consent to grant them upon any other terms than that when any difficulty should arise, they should choose a king from the female royal race rather than from the male, which custom, as is well known, has been observed among the Picts to this day. In process of time, Britain, besides the Britons and the Picts, received a third nation, the Scots, who, migrating from Ireland under their leader, Ruda, either by fair means or by force of arms, secured to themselves those settlements among the Picts which they still possess. From the name of their commander, they are to this day called Dalrudins, for in their language, Dal signifies a part. Ireland, in breadth and for wholesomeness and serenity of climate, far surpasses Britain, for the snow scarcely ever lies there above 3 days. No man makes hay in the summer for winter's provision, or builds stables for his beasts of burden. No reptiles are found there, and no snake can live there, for though often carried thither out of Britain, as soon as the ship comes near the shore, and the scent of the air reaches them, they die. On the contrary, almost all things in the island are good against poison. In short, we have known that when some persons have been bitten by serpents, the scrapings of leaves of books that were brought out of Ireland, being put into water and given them to drink, have immediately expelled the spreading poison, and assuaged the swelling. The island abounds in milk and honey, nor is there any want of vines, fish, or fowl, and it's remarkable for deer and goats. It is properly the country of the Scots, who, migrating from thence, as has been said, added a third nation in Britain to the Britons and the Picts. There is a very large gulf of the sea, which formerly divided the nation of the Picts from the Britons, which gulf runs from the west very far into the land, where, to this day, stands the strong city of the Britons called Accluith. The Scots, arriving on the north side of this bay, settled themselves there.